All right, guys. So with Elon Musk's anti-government crusade, where he's slashing every good program we have an update for you here. And some of the stuff that's getting slashed in this instance by Trump and Elon are just absolutely grotesque. So we're going to dive into the specifics. Look at this. Trump's war on American science cuts institutional NIH, National Institute of Health, support by 70%. I'll explain in pretty clear terms what this means going forward. Okay, here we go. They say, Trump's new NIH director, Jay Bhattacharya, an economist who put together the insanely moronic and anti-scientific Great Barrington Declaration during the COVID-19 epidemic that threatened to increase the epidemic death toll multifold, has now issued an immediate decree to cut indirect costs to institutions receiving NIH grants from current rates of 50% to 15%, a 70% cut in NIH support for existing as well as new NIH grants to medical schools, scientific institutes, and research arms in drug companies. So let me just pause to point out, he's putting a COVID conspiracy theorist as the head of the NIH. And this anti-science COVID conspiracy theorist is like, let's slash the support that we give for our medical research. That's basically what this is right here. That's what we're looking at. This will slowly bankrupt nearly all major medical centers that have other endowments or sources of support and cause immediate bankruptcy for some institutes with large endowments. So that's the thing everybody needs to understand. The way that the system works, everybody's gaslit into believing that the pharmaceutical companies are the ones that do all the research and development and create all the new drugs. That's actually factually incorrect. For decades now, there hasn't been a single drug that's been made. There hasn't been a single piece of medicine that's been made that hasn't been done with U.S. government funding. So we basically socialize our medical research on the front end, but on the back end, we allow private companies to buy up the rights and then price gouge you. So you pay for the research on the front end, and then on the back end, they price gouge you, and they're an unnecessary middleman, and they try to take their cut. It's crazy the way that it works. But they're saying, let's just cut the research. Right? And they're assuming that, this will be made up for in the private sector. 100% it will not. Because something like medical research, it's a long-term investment. You could dump $10 million into trying to create a new medicine and fail, and then you'll never see a return on investment. So investors are incredibly skittish for putting money in a project that may or may not pay off, and it would be super long-term. Right? So this would just destroy the U.S. as one of the hubs of medical research, period. That's what this would do. So here, let me give you some more specifics. Indirect costs, for example, see the rates for Stanford University here, which are about 54%, are needed to pay for biohazard committees, patient research protection committees, animal care facilities, rent, buildings, shipping docks, janitorial support, administrative support, lights, printers, etc. Everything that is needed in order to do research. You cannot get an NIH grant and do the research in your garage. For every $1 that a Stanford researcher received to perform an NIH-funded study, and then it lists all the stuff there, Stanford would receive 54 cents to support the infrastructure needed to successfully pursue the research. Not anymore. So again, understand that. Basically, Elon's an idiot. Trump's an idiot. They looked at, we're funding 54% of the indirect costs for this medical research. Let's cut that down to 15%. Not realizing that the indirect costs are quite literally a cornerstone of being able to do the research at all. At all. That if you don't have that, they can't do the research. This is a masterstroke in destroying America's premier position as the world's scientific leader in biomedical research for the past 75 years. Trump has accomplished the near impossible. Welcome to the Great Immiseration Declaration. As a typical example, the University of Pittsburgh Hillman Cancer Center brings in $4 billion a year, including $1.2 billion in commercial spinoffs from its research alone, to Pennsylvania from its research, education, and patient care. It is one of the leaders in cancer care because it is performing cancer research. This cancer center relies on its scientists to fund themselves from NIH grants that cost the government $10 to $15 million total per year, a rate of return that Elon can only dream of. If this support evaporates, then this cancer center will evaporate. I have no clue how many scientists and universities will go forward under this regime starting on Monday. This is a huge deal, man. This is a huge 70% cut in medical research, 70% cut in cancer research, and it literally all stems from them being anti-government fundamentalists and looking at the way that these payments are categorized, and they say, oh, if it's an indirect cost, why are we giving 54%? Let's only give 15%, and then they'll be able to do the research, but just with less money, or they'll have to make up for it in the private sector. None of that will hold. None of it will hold. They can't do it without that money. And if there's anything, guys, we talk about this all the time, right? If you're going to prioritize what to send our tax money to, if you have to make a list of, hey, what should we actually be using our tax money for? Very high up on that list is stuff like medical and scientific research that benefits all of humanity, right? The only problem with this, as I pointed out, is that usually pharmaceutical companies on the back end swoop in, buy up the patent rights to a drug, and then they price gouge you for that drug. I would ban that. They're an unnecessary middleman. I would nationalize Big Pharma. Without a doubt, I'd also nationalize health insurance so we have a single-payer system. You guys know all that, but the bottom line is, to come in and slash this is basically a death sentence for U.S. medicinal research. That's what it is. That's what it is. And all of the fucking idiots who are out there, all the people who are slobbing Elon's knob like Joe Rogan, who say, oh, Elon found so much waste, fraud, and abuse, and they're sending money to belly dancers in Morocco, bro. And all these people have been gaslit. They've been misled. They've been lied to. Elon lies relentlessly about, oh, look at all the stuff we found, bro. Look at all the waste, fraud, and abuse. Meanwhile, you go to the specifics of what's actually being cut, and it's like HIV and AIDS medicine, right? It's stuff like scientific research. It's all these things which are vital and crucial for a functioning, civilized society. And, oh yeah, the cherry on top is he's doing all this illegally anyway. He doesn't have the right, he doesn't have the ability to come in on the back end and say, yeah, I know the House and the Senate passed a bill, I know the president signed it, but I, unilaterally, am going to just axe whatever agencies I want. Well, that would be you usurping the U.S. government, which is preposterous. It's wildly illegal, and the courts have said, you can't do it, and it looks like they're not fucking listening. So, look, either break out the handcuffs or wrap it up. We're no longer a country, right? I don't know how else to get it across to people. You got to stop them. There's no way around it. Unless you want them to keep doing stuff like this. And by the way, you will not see any right-wing accounts or MAGA accounts engage with what I just told you on the facts. Not a single one will be able to do it. Not a single one. So they won't talk about it, or they'll lie and mislead and say that's not what he's doing. Elon himself is like, that's not what we're doing. Literally, somebody tweeted that, oh my God, I can't believe they're cutting cancer research. And or medicinal research, or whatever the phrasing was. And Elon says, we're not. And then the guy sends the link that says they are, and here's exactly how they are. So does he even know what he's cutting? Does he even know? I don't know if he knows, but he certainly doesn't care. Because he just assumes he's like Javier Milei, anti-government fundamentalist, anti-government extremist. Cut everything that helps regular people. And who cares? It's temporary hardship. That's how he views it. Wants the government to be so small he can drown it in a bathtub. But the only government funding he wants to continue, take a guess. All of his subsidies, his tens of billions of dollars in subsidies for his companies. Socialism for me, but not for thee. This guy's got to get the hell out of there. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.